Hey, what's up? It's Jake from Nimbus DevOps, and we are going to do a little recursive fun. So, what is recursion? When a function calls itself to produce a result, it's said to be recursive. Sometimes it's really useful when you're writing code because you can reuse things. And the body of the recursive function usually is two sections. It has a return value depending on a subsequent call to itself, and one where it doesn't. And the one where it doesn't is called a base case. So let's take, for example, um, recursion. Let's take our factorial example. So 5 factorial equals, and I'm just going to comment this. We know this to be 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5, right? Which is equal to 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5, which is the same as 4 factorial times 5, right? So that's kind of my mentality here. So if we codify this, I could define a function called factorial and pass a number n. And I'm going to say if n in 0, comma 1, and this is my base case, okay, I just want to return 1, okay? And if not, then I'm going to return something else. Now, this is where the recursion comes in. I'm going to return a value by calling the very function that I'm in, n minus 1 times n. So I'm going to pass n minus 1, and then I'm going to multiply that times n. So if n is in 0, 1, which n in this case, if I said is 5, right? So I could say factorial 5. So this is not true, so it's not going to return 1. So it's going to do this. So it's going to return factorial n minus 1, which is 4. So it's going to say 4 times, you know, 3 times 2 times 1, and then multiply that times n itself, which is 5, something like that. So recursive functions are used pretty often when you write algorithms, and they can actually be really fun to write. So try to solve a couple problems using recursion using an iterative approach, and then try to do it with like a recursive approach. And you can try something like return the Fibonacci sequence or the length of a string, stuff like that, and then see what you can do. One little tip thing is when you write recursive functions, always consider how many nested calls you're making, since there is a limit. So there is some information, and you can check out sys.get recursion limit, like this. And there's also a sys.set recursion limit that you can check out. But this is just kind of a very broad overview of like how recursion works, and just the idea that you're calling a function inside of itself. So anyways, that is it for this one, and we're going to move on to anonymous functions.